Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is Christiana Davidson, and I'm a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist. And I'm so grateful to do this work, especially within this niche of narcissistic family systems and their impact on adults. So if you come from a narcissistic family system, or you think you might, listen out now in this video today, because we're going to talk about one of those impacts, and that is part two on the relationship between siblings and what you've, I'm sure, heard of before, sibling rivalry. Now, in my last video, we looked at the origins of sibling rivalry. Today, we're going to look at sibling rivalry itself. If you would like to work one-on-one with me, you're looking for some extra support, please check out my Calendly link, and you'll see there you can have a free consultation with me, half an hour, and we can see how to get you free from the impact on your life and how it's still holding you back. Okay, so let's dive into this topic now. We'd start by just looking at the word rivalry. Now, we know what sibling means. That means obviously brother or sister, either from the same parents or from only one same parent. Rivalry, now this is very interesting. Rivalry means competition for the same objective or for superiority in a game. And that just about sums up the impact of having a narcissistic parent on the siblings. You know, growing up in that kind of family system, all of the children are in competition. You know, it doesn't matter what role you were in, scapegoat, golden child, lost child, mascot child, whoever it is, they're all in competition. What for? Well, for the love of mother, I would say, but also the love of the father. So they're in competition for attention, attention and love from their parents. So, you know, as I said in my last video, it's set up this way. And why is it set up this way? Why is this what the narcissist wants? Well, first of all, when siblings are competing for the attention of the narcissistic parent, that's a form of supply. It also gives a great amount of control, you know, where you are the one being sought out to give love. And you're able to withhold it or when you want to, or give it when you want to. So that's why this kind of sibling rivalry is beneficial for the narcissistic parent. It also means for the narcissistic parent, though, that it sort of creates this safety for them, that all the attention from the children is on them. The children are not going to be abandoning them for the other parent as such. So it kind of creates this safety net for them in terms of their own abandonment fears. And the intention is to set up this rivalry for life, because then the narcissistic parent will always be the one pulling the strings in the family. So you may find that in your own interactions with a sibling today, that they have perhaps begun to display, or they always have displayed, an overt or covert competitiveness or a need to be superior to you. This can be exhausting. But it's so, you can tell that it's happening when you're in communication with your narcissistic sibling, or with your sibling rather. You know the feeling. You'll know what I'm talking about. It's like this tenseness, and you can almost feel it in your body that it's almost like you have to sort of be on guard a bit. And people even say to me, like the dynamics sort of in terms of body language, when they watch their sibling, there can be a lot of sort of trying to be superior, even in terms of how they're sitting, in terms of what they do at the start of the communication. Say you're on Skype or you're on Zoom or whatever it is, whatever way you communicate with them, even in person, you'll notice from the start of the conversation there will be something to one up you. So it might be that they don't come on screen as soon as you're there. You have to wait a bit for them to come and talk to you, or they pretend they're on their phone, they've got another important call, and they can see you, but you're just going to have to wait. All of these sort of very kind of covert, almost passive aggressive type means of asserting their superiority over you. So this is key. And if you experience with this with a sibling, this is a real telltale sign that there's something else going on here. I mean, look, all of us are on a spectrum of narcissism, but there's a sense here when you see these behaviors repeated over and over and over again in a more sort of calculated way, rather than in a defense mechanism or spur of the moment defense mechanism way. Okay. So when you're talking to them, you can find yourself almost being on edge, waiting for some kind of arrow or aggressive covert jab. So this may be, like I've said, a passive-aggressive type dismissal, a discarding perhaps of something you say. There's a sense of entitlement too, that it can be that you will sit there and just listen to them, that it's your highest priority and you're very privileged to be listening to their life and their successes. There may be a sense of them not really being bothered, with talking to you, and kind of, there's kind of, oh great, yeah. That kind of, it almost feels a bit fake, as if they're not listening really to what you're saying. You may also notice that they're not happy. They're not particularly happy by your successes. So they might pretend to be, oh, that's fantastic. Oh, I'm so proud of you. It's so great. But you'll notice there's this kind of seething rage behind. There's a cognitive dissonance there in what they're saying and how they're saying it, and in their body. There can also be an attempt to really bring your vibe down. If you come on all cheerful, you go around to visit them and you're, full of happy vibes, there can be a real attempt to just bring that down. They don't want to see that. And they need to be, once again, in control of your emotions. They may use triangulation, especially if they're married and got children of their own. They'll triangulate with their spouse or triangulate with the child. In fact, they often, will sort of rally their child around, your niece or nephew, to do some of the covert bullying as well. So, lastly, on this section here, mockery is quite a big one with narcissistic siblings. Making you out to be a fool, using mocking jokes, all of these little things just to keep putting you down. And it can feel exhausting to be on the receiving end of it. And not only is it exhausting, it's painful too. This is your brother or your sister. And if you were, perhaps a more codependent type, more empathic, it can feel really, really painful, and you can't really understand it. And in fact, it can lead people to be in denial for a very long time, and sort of going back to the relationship, hoping and expecting them to be different, to be more like that lovely sibling that I knew when we were growing up. I know they're in there somewhere still. So this can keep people in these bullying type relationships for a very long time. You see, the aim of the narcissistic sibling, just like your narcissistic parent, is not to truly connect with you. It's to win. That's the game part. They've got to win the game, and they're happy to use all these covert tactics, bullying, cheating, lying, whatever it is, to squash you, to outdo you, to one-up you, as I've been saying, to demonstrate their superiority over you, who they want to make out as a bit of a loser, as a bit of the oddball in the family. So they're out to win, and anything you do, anything good that you do, or any good that you have in your life, for example, even getting on well with their children, your nieces and nephews, or if you achieve some promotion, or you begin to be a bit more assertive and confident in yourself, they will take that as you attempting to compete with them. That your tactic is to befriend their children in order to become more popular than them. That your promotion is you strutting your stuff in front of them. They see it just as your narcissistic parent did. It's a personal attack or an attempt by you to win. But the thing is, more than likely, if you're watching this video, you're not wanting to win. You're actually wanting to connect. You're actually looking for a wonderful sibling relationship that you may feel like you did have at the start when you were best friends growing up. That's what you're wanting back. And so it's very hard to make sense of where it all went wrong. It's not actually on your radar to try to one up them. That's not what you're in it for. So what happens? You do the same thing that you did with your narcissistic parent. You end up finding yourself downplaying your life, keeping small, bigging them up, praising them, minimizing yourself, dimming your lights so that they can feel better. And your reason? Well, you're trying to convince them. You're trying to show them, look, I'm not here to compete with you. I really am not. I'll even hold myself back just to prove that to you. And this is the thing. You will find that you don't only do this in your relationship with your sibling, that you do this in life. In almost all your relationships, you'll be afraid of inciting narcissistic rage at you feeling good about yourself. And so what do? We end up spending our lives making ourselves feel bad, because that's a safe place. If we can show others that we don't actually feel good about ourselves, that's what we think is going to keep us safe and get us love. But it doesn't. It keeps us miserable and held back and not reaching our potential. Okay, now what do we do here? Well, you can continue in the relationship, managing it the way you have been, making yourself the laughing stock, or even raging, bursting into rage when they trigger you. You can keep putting yourself in that position where you're wanting it to be different, but then being shown every single time that it's not, and keeping going back, you being the one reaching out all the time. You can stay doing that for sure. However, there are other options here. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is what we've got to do, we've got to face that fear of inciting narcissistic envy or rage in your sibling. To put it in very, what can I say, crass words, we've got to balls out. Excuse me. You've got to stand up, you've got to speak up, and you've got to stop worrying about their reaction. But coupled with this, we've got to stop bigging them up too. You know, it's not your job to use over the top praise in order to bolster their ego. No. So we've got to look at how we're showing up in this relationship. Number two, in our own lives, we need to also look at this competitive streak, because we were brought up believing that we've got to compete in life, or else we're going to be robbed of everything. We're not going to have anything. And so that mentality may filter out into your friendships, into your work life, in all relationships, in fact. So we really need to take stock of that in ourselves. Okay, where in my life do I feel I don't want to share, or there's a lack of generosity in me? Where am I holding things to myself? Maybe my skills or my knowledge, or whatever it is, out of a sense of believing that others are simply out to take from me and snatch, and that I need to hold back, or else I'm going to be vulnerable. And of course, we do have to discern what we share with others, and how we share of our gifts and talents, and not just be, irresponsibly generous. But we do also need to be aware of that innate sense in us of believing that everyone's out to compete and stamp on us. And we can tenderly begin to let go of that belief and say, and ask yourself the next time, oh, okay, yes, they may be jealous of me, but what might be another opinion here? What might be a different assumption to come to? Because, of course, if we're assuming everyone's competing with me, well, that's what we're going to see. That's what we're going to experience. So maybe it's time for us now to see that that was the experience growing up, but it doesn't have to be the experience going forward. We can drop the competitiveness, the defensiveness. Okay, so that brings me to the end here of part 2 of the sibling rivalry videos. I'd love it if you left your comments, your own experience. Thank you so much to those of you who have done so already. And like I said, please do subscribe to this channel. And if you have any requests for topics, anything you'd like a bit more insight into, I tend to come at things from a slightly different perspective, because there's so many narcissistic abuse coaches out there. But I am a psychotherapist, and I do come at this from the subconscious programming point of view. And like I said, if you'd like to work with me, have a look down below, and put yourself in for a free consultation. Okay, thank you, everybody, and I shall see you again very soon for another video. Take care. Bye now.